Hi there, I'm Suzanne, your friendly Stampin' Up demonstrator in Canada. Welcome to my monthly paper pumpkin alternative video on my YouTube channel and blog. I share 5 alternative ways to use the kit in this video, and I sell the products I feature as well. I hope you enjoy my free video tutorial and would love to see you sign up with me as a paper pumpkin subscriber. Visit sunstampin.com for more information. This is the paper pumpkin box for June 2019. It's called A Little Smile. I'm just going to briefly go over what you got in it. So instructions, of course, are helpful, but not necessarily for me. And then there's all of these die cuts and mini cards and even a little plastic envelope where I can carry it in my purse, a whole bunch of these little cards. And I plan to give them for gratuities for people on the incentive trip that are helping me. So I've already got plans for them. So I'm making full-size cards for my alternatives. People seem to like that. So I'm starting off with a piece of Whisper White here, and behind it is a non-porous surface. So it is a grid sheet that I have laminated, and I softly sponged the color that we got in the kit, which was Coastal Cabana. And that was a Bermuda Bay marker, and I flicked some speckles on that. Okay, so I'm doing 2 different colors of stamping here. One is Sahara Sand and one is Crumb Cake. So it's kind of nice that you can see the difference between these two. I did want some light and some dark. So here I'm fussy cutting out the images. I'm stamping in Coastal Cabana for the sentiment. And now I'm going to put all the components together. So my favorite adhesive, putting on the back of that sponged piece. And you can see that I only sponged a circle, sort of. Like just to give it just a little bit of something in the back. And then I used a piece of Coastal Cabana to mat that first page. And then I'm adhering it all to a Whisper White thick cardstock. And I always said, if you ever want to duplicate my paper pumpkin alternatives, it's probably best for you to get some Whisper White thick cardstock for the base, and even some thin or regular stamping weight for card fronts. All right, so I used a little bit of that linen thread, and I made a loopy circle, put a dimensional on it. Now I'm putting this circle of vellum on. I think it's supposed to look like, I don't know, coral maybe? I don't know. So I adhered my Crumb Cake sand dollar, and then with a dimensional, a Sahara Sand starfish. And then the die cut that is glimmer paper, I'm of the sand dollar, I'm adhering as well. It's slightly different in size than the stamped one. And then I took one of the vellum corals, and I'm coloring it smoky slate dark. You always want to go darker when you're coloring on vellum because it shows up better. And with a glue dot, adhered that down. Now I'm going to put dimensionals behind my sentiment and tuck that in. And you can see it's like a little cluster bomb there. Trying to just arrange it nicely. And then I had some leftover rhinestones from a project, so I thought I'd use them up. Pearls would go well here too, because pearls kind of come from the sea. So you could go with that. Or, sparkly water droplets, that kind of thing. All right, and that is my first card. Okay, so card number 2. So I have 3 of the mini cards. So I sacrificed 3 and the 2 envelopes. So I'm taking my layering circle dies, and I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. Tried to get 3 different sizes. And then I went back to my envelopes here, and I'm cutting out these 3 little images on both. So I think one is like, it might be Old Olive, and the other one is Coastal Cabana. And I've fussy cut them out. Sorry, I can't speak. It's Canada Day. So here's my Bermuda marker, and I just flick some more flicks on there. I quite like that little technique. Okay, so here I'm using Coastal Cabana for the matte and my Whisper White panel. So it's similar in style to the first card. And now I'm just going to adhere down the smallest circle just with dry adhesive. This one I'm putting on dimensionals and putting it up and to the right of the first one. Now I put a little bit of dry adhesive, and I'm going to be doing a messy nest. And I do use my circle to, my last circle as a measure to make sure that the messy nest will fit behind it. Dimensional goes on top to secure everything. And then I'm double upping on my dimensionals because the dimensional on the second one was just 1. So this one has to be 2, if not 3. I just put 2 there though. It was fine. But and then adhered that circle down and making sure that the twine there was out of the adhesive and free to go. I really like this one, by the way. I stamped the sentiment in Coastal Cabana and then adhered that on dimensionals. And then all these little embellishments I put on with a glue dot. And I adhered them wherever I felt that needed a little something. I quite like this one. It's my style for sure. And I'm using my take your pick tool. It helps a lot, gets the fingers out of the way. You can see there I just trapped a loose string with that one. And this one is going right at the top because at this point I kind of felt like it needed a little bling. So I brought in a starfish from the kit. It was a die cut starfish. I suppose if you didn't like the glitter, you could flip it around and just make them plain. And then folding with my bone folder, and there you go. Card number 3. So I have 3 palm trees and 5 sprigs of fern, I guess. I have a piece of Whisper White here. I don't remember what the size is. Sorry, guys. It is smaller than, half the card base. I treated it with my embossing buddy. I stamped with my Versamark ink my sentiment, and now I'm sort of dragging along my Versamark ink to my page just on the edges because I want this to have a golden edge. I've forgotten about this technique, and recently it was brought up by my friend Sarah Fleming, who is my partner in some of my online classes. She's very techniquey, and sometimes she reminds me of some of the techniques that we used to use and haven't used in a while. So it's exactly what happened today. She's at Prepare to Die Paper Crafts, in case you have never seen her work. She's pretty awesome. All right, so I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive down on a piece of just copy paper, and I sort of tacked my ferns down, and then I'm gently pulling them up with some tweezers, popping them in the gold embossing powder, and I am making gold ferns. You know, there's a method to my madness. I don't know why. I just felt like I didn't want green. So there you go. So here's a heat tool, and sometimes it's difficult because they blow away on me. But with my tweezers there, I was able to hold them in place and get the look that I was going for. So moving on, after those ones were done, I cut off of the bark of the palm trees, and I'm going to try to make the palm trees look more like ferns as opposed to palm trees. And it also occurred to me that I could have drawn a face or something underneath that and made a really good hairstyle too, like a funky monkey kind of a hairstyle. But not this time. I was rushed to make these alternatives anyway this time around. So I'm adhering these palm trees, and so basically I just daubed on Coastal Cabana. So I just tried to make them look a little bit more like foliage, like a bush as opposed to a tree. And then I'm just adding with my Tombow glue, I just added some of my golden ferns. And yeah, it was just sort of place them top left corner and bottom right corner, and tried to use as much as I could. Let that dry for a second, and I got pretty gluey, so I let it dry, cut off the excess, which is what I'm doing right here. And then I adhered it to my Whisper White thick card base. And I just used my favorite adhesive for that. And of course you do want to make sure that you put adhesive along close to the edges and everything, because it was heat was applied to it, so it does have a tendency to warp. All right, so this is Flirty Flamingo and Mango Melody. What I did was I inked up with the Flirty Flamingo and then tapped a little bit of the Mango Melody in the center. Those two really work well together, those two colors. I really like them. They remind me of a tropical flower. So that's what I'm trying to do here with this, with these three little starfishes. And I'm also adhering the glittery starfish in the center, so it actually looks like a blossom. So I'm going for palm trees turning into ferns and starfishes turning into blossoms. I probably could have put more on as I was looking at this card. You know, I could have added a few more flowers. But anyway, that's a blingy card. And I do want to say thank you for those of you that had patience to wait for this paper pumpkin video. I appreciate your patience. It was a colossal effort getting it ready for you all. I'm going on vacation soon. Okay, so this is Coastal Cabana on the back half of the stamp that comes in the kit. So it's like a little piece of plastic. I'm using it as a smushing sheet. This is a piece of watercolor paper. You could use, I find it best if you used watercolor paper or shimmery white paper. I dried it in between with my heat tool. So just so you know, there wasn't a lot of water on it, but and each time I went in 3 times with my smooshing sheet and just added a droplet of water here and there, like a spritz of water. Then After the third time, I got the look that I was going for. I wanted like a paint splatter in the center. Then I took my spritzer here and the little tube that's inside of it, and I just picked up a few droplets of water and dropped it on my watercolor paper. Then I went with my handy napkin, my dinner napkin, over top of the piece, and I picked up some of the ink so it's more splotty. All right, so these are my stitched rectangle dies, and I'm using just a little bit of washi tape to tape them down before they put them into the big shot. Now, if you don't have these rectangle dies, you could probably use your trimmer and cut out a rectangle die. I didn't do that because I have them. So the frame gets adhered to the front of my Whisper White card. Then the second frame, I put dimensionals on it. And then I was to the bottom and to the right of the first frame. The third little frame goes in the inside of the card. I'm stamping the sentiment with Coastal Cabana, and then I put a little glue dot inside the frame there, and I put a little bit of my linen thread, and I sort of do a messy nest, or like a little cute curl is what it is. It's not so much of a messy nest, it's a cute curl. And use that glue dot to adhere that in there. And then glue dots for the starfish and also the sand dollar and this little vellum coral. I like the vellum pieces that they gave us in the kit. I found that the coral piece, though, it to me was sort of a non-color, so I had a little bit of a trouble finding a place for it. Anyway, fussing with all the little elements, and I'm just putting them on the inside of that frame to the right there. Folding with my bone folder and adhering this piece to the center, and I just glued a sand dollar in the center of this one. Gives you less room to write, but sometimes all you want to do is say thanks, or good job, or whatever. Okay, last and final card. I don't have any bonuses for you this week because I am very busy right now, just trying to get blog stuff going and, getting ready to head out for a 2-week vacation, first time in my life. So I'm quite busy at the salon, and I'm quite busy with all this extra work that I've done. I'm preparing a whole bunch of scheduled posts for you all. So here I am with Coastal Cabana on my porous surface there. That is a small grid paper that I have laminated. So I just did a little bit of sponging. So this is Sahara sand I'm using, and also smoky slate for the sand dollar, and I'm using Rococo Rose for my coral pieces. So I liked the coral pieces better than the vellum pieces because I felt that the coral should be pink. All right, so now I have crumb cake for my card base, and I am ripping it towards me about an inch, maybe an inch and a half from the fold. You can see what I'm doing there. So it's uneven, and that's the way I want it. I'm putting my favorite adhesive along all the edges. You don't want this to come up on you. Then this full quarter of Whisper White is getting adhered down, and all of a sudden I have a beach scene. So I I fussy cut my stamped sand dollar and the starfish. So I fussy cut them out, and I'm just adhering them in a manner that I find appealing. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink for this one, for the thank you sentiment, and it's just because I didn't want the Coastal Cabana to fade away into the water, so I went with a little darker. I put some Wink of Stella on my little sea creatures. I added some pearls as well, and then I went and on the sand, on the ripped portion of the card, I added some more Wink of Stella as well. That is my cards for this month's Paper Pumpkin. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you press the little dingy bell if you're watching on YouTube to get alerted to all the live videos that I'm going to be producing while I'm in Greece on the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip. Thank you again so much, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. On screen are 2 more videos for inspiration. Click on the maple leaf for my blog, or click on me to subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching.